non-fictions there?
So I've got one non-fiction I brought to highlight. So non-fiction's a big love of mine, and one of my favourites is Philip Sands. You might have come across him. He did East West Street and The Rat Line. The Rat Line I just thought was one of the best works of non-fiction that I've ever read. Basically, he concerns himself with a lot of Second World War history and how it impacts, but what he did was take very personal tales of his family and tie it into his research. This one, out next month, is basically, well, the title's there. So it's 38 London Street on impunity, Pinochet in England and that's in Patagonia. And it's basically how he travels the story of, so I'm going to try and not give too much away. So he travels the story of a chap who was responsible for the death bans in Nazi Germany under the Third Reich. Somehow manages to make his way to South America, and this book is an investigation into how on earth he ends up working to build death camps there for Pinochet. The kind of propellant for the story is that Philip Sands, who is an international human rights lawyer, is approached to defend Pinochet after his arrest in London on charges of genocide, and it's quite heavy. There's a lot of law, and it's different to his other books because it's concerning a time wherein we had the Genocide Convention, we've had the ICC, the International Criminal Court, so there's references to be made there, and he builds it into his book, so it's definitely, pace yourself. It's a bit of a deep dive, but it very quickly becomes almost thriller-like in that it follows this man from Nazi Germany all the way over to South America, but it's to do with Philip Sands' conscience and why, I'm not giving any spoilers away, he refuses to defend Pinochet and is actually then approached by Amnesty International to take up the side who are prosecuting him. So it's a multi-layered thing, but if you enjoy non-fiction, he is one of the best writers you will ever read. It's an investment of time. It's with a heavy heart, you read a lot of it, but if it remotely holds your interest or you think, I just want something that makes a difference to how I read and how I view books and the importance of journalism, the importance of research, then I would thoroughly recommend this. He's a personal favourite, so I'm obviously biased, but he's a great place to start. And if this particular subject matter doesn't grab you, I would recommend The Rat Line, which is some of his backlist. It reads like a work of fiction and it's horrifying when you realise it's not, but he's such a good writer. It's maybe not the book that you take on your holiday, and it's possibly not the book for your book group, but it's that kind of, it's a long night, a couple hours to devote to it. It took me, so I'm quite a fast, so I'm probably 68 books a month I would read when children and husbands alive, but I took probably about a month to read this because it's definitely the kind, we've all read them, I would think it's the kind of book that you'll read, pop down and then go back to a nice Agatha, a nice cosy murder, a nice Agatha Christie, and then revisit, but if you have the time and inclination, I would absolutely recommend them.
Yeah, the Rat Line is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, fabulous.
And Philip Sands I think his ancestors were Jewish, and they were all killed in the Holocaust, and he ends up becoming really good friends with the son of one of the leading Nazis. And it's amazing how their relationship builds up. And this guy, he was Hans Frank's son. Hans Frank was the governor of Poland. And this guy totally disassociated his father. He's also friends with another Nazi, son of a Nazi, who refuses to acknowledge that his father did anything wrong. And the way this relationship develops is absolutely brilliant. It does read like a novel.
The sons in Rat Line, they're kind of the moral compass, aren't they? They're either sides of it. Fascinating, but this one a bit further away than your Nazi Germany, but it's all the impact of
people like the non-fiction.
Can you bring us back to something you don't like?
A bit I'd love to tell you about this one, The Show Woman by Emma Cowing. It's out in May. Emma's actually from Helensburgh, so I really wanted to give this one a shout out. She grew up in Helensburgh. She lives in Glasgow just now, where she's been a journalist for many years, and this is her debut novel. It's historical fiction set in the early 1900s in Scotland's fairgrounds. and it's based around an all-female circus, a kind of group of women who come together, who've all got their own different backstories and things they're trying to escape from, and it talks a lot about the prejudices they face, both as members of the kind of circus community, but also as like a group of women. There's like lots going on, they've all got their own different storylines, so it's a really brilliant book. I think she's actually got an event at one of the Waterstones at the start of May.
So I think possibly Argyle Street,
Yeah.
possibly. We've got a lot on it, but I think it might be Argyle Street, so yeah, .com would have the details.
So it's an easy read on the whole. You know, there's dark topics, because you know, these women have got hard lives, but it's not quite as deep as this one. I really hope this gets made into a series. It ends in a way that it definitely could be, and I could definitely see it. There's also a mention of Cadonas in there, which I'll give a little like smile at for anyone who's local and remembers them being here. So yeah, I'd really recommend that one if you like a wee bit of historical fiction.
How did you find out about that?
Social media.
So anyone want to volunteer what they're reading, or any recommendations from anyone who'd like to share with us? Go on.
I was just going to say about on the war theme there, a really good book I read, and I can't remember.
It's no use.
But it's a follow-on book from The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas, and
Yeah.
it follows the story of the Johnny Boy's
Yeah,
sister.
John Boy.
It's the sister of the young boy, who's not on the campsite, and it's her story about when her mother takes her after the war finishes to Australia, and it's her tracing back what happened and the horror of what her father did, but also about her also meeting one of the officers who was there in the camp, and he had also escaped to Australia, and tracking him down. But it's fascinating. It takes so many different paths along the way as well, and it's about her guilt of what happens. But I'd say it's even better than The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas.
So I haven't read it, but I definitely had some customers come back in. I did read Boy in Striped Pyjamas and it finished me. Which is why I was not so inclined to read the second one. I think obviously I've got my 2 wee people, and I just thought I don't think I'm in a position to enter into reading that. However, customers come back in and said exactly the same as you just said there, that they loved it more than the first one. Yeah.
I think The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas maybe for a younger market, but I think the other books maybe a bit more. Yeah.
And what was that title?
But it's John Boyne, B-O-Y-N-E. I cannot remember.
I'll find it out before we put it up on there.
Does anyone else wanted to?
Yeah, I've been reading Jonathan Franzen, Crossroads. And I love Jonathan Franzen's style of writing. He just analyses it in different American families, and he pulls it all apart in a way that's absolutely fascinating. And what I find is my own sort of opinions rise to the surface very quickly, the way he writes, and then I start questioning myself, why was I so harsh on that character, or what, but it shines a light on our opinions. We just form opinions very, very quickly about people, and we don't always dig into the sort of deeper motivations or the influences on their life that have led them to this particular path. So I quite like that, because I find I'm questioning myself at the same time and thinking, that's not how you should be judging people. So it's fascinating, and he takes, in a family, and he goes into each character in such depth. You get a real understanding of the whole personality and motivation. So I just every so often I just pick up a Jonathan Franzen and read it again.
Yeah, read Jonathan Franzen.
I've dipped into Jonathan Franzen. I actually read him just after I read Joyce Carol Oates, big American author again, concerned with family saga and pulling apart kind of societal expectations and all that kind of stuff, all that nice. And he takes a much more accessible style towards it all, and so I really liked him. But he's definitely going for the big themes, and he's going to make you think. But I would recommend him as well. I think he's a great writer.
It touches on the political a wee bit, but he's not bombarding you with it. But it's thought provoking, and I really like that.
Anyone else want to share
historical fiction called A Poisonous Tale by Catherine Kent. It's set in the mid-1600s about Julia Tafana, who was basically a poisoner who helped women in that time get out of really bad marriages, but it's at the time
It's
of-
not a place
but it's quite a heavy read, but it's a very good book and follows closely. Catherine Kent did a lot of research into this book, and it just sort of reflects on how women were treated in that time as well. It's not Julia Tafana is completely innocent. It's written very well, like very balanced. It's not like, oh, she was doing a great thing. There is a balance to the book, and it's a very good book. Again, a heavy read, so you might want a bit of Agatha Christie afterwards. But a very good book. I think that was only out recently.
Yeah, it's fairly new, isn't it? Yeah.
What was it
A
called?
Poisonous Tale by Catherine Kent.